prematurely, isn't it? It's just so disappointing.
Tell us when we go back live. Oh, we're back. We're back. Okay. And it came back with my face looking incredibly down.
Yeah. What happens when your computer really doesn't
I don't know why. Like, OBS has crashed. I never have any problems with OBS, but there we go. Hey, can we just say that's the fastest time I've ever seen a stream come back online? Can I just point that out? 1 second.
We're breaking records over here.
Yeah, we're breaking records. The fastest I've ever seen that come back. But anyway, what were we talking about?
Break a record if it don't go down, won't we?
That's very, very true. But like we were talking about anyway, so as you were saying, Paradox, before you were rudely interrupted, Luminosity solidifies the top 4 team, correct?
Yeah, 100%. This is a team that we've seen come to back-to-back grand finals, both against Splice. They've stepped up to the table. That sort of weak point that they had in Search and Destroy looks to not be a reoccurring issue at the moment. So hopefully they keep that going into stage 2, hopefully in a chance as well. Really good to see, you know, Slackton Classic come through, win a championship. Saints gets a championship, a major championship on Father's Day as well, which is really cool. And then, of course, Octane has been gunning people. Like, I have no idea how that guy is so good at this game.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
It's crazy. He's really turned up, and I think when we had the chance to speak to Slack, that was kind of proven to us. You know, Slack was very, very confident within his team, and I hate to say it, but it's kind of becoming a recurring thing at the minute, but Tony's becoming more and more right every single weekend that we have. He's been talking over the past couple of days about, you know, when he had the conversation with Slack, he could see the confidence, he could feel the luminosity with his team that was going to cause problems, and, well, it is exactly that's ended up happening. So Tony,
almost like I know what I'm talking about when it comes to teams.
It almost is exactly like that. But I want to bring up a little screen for you guys. Obviously taking it, Splice in second, which at the moment in time we've kind of agreed that they're the top 2 teams that we could, you know, say in American Call of Duty at the minute. Would you guys say then that?
Campbell, I can't hear you, Dubber.
Oh yeah, on the overlay screen. Yeah, well, I think we're back now, but I messed up on the overlay screen. I will get this. This is my first time doing this. Normally, I have a beautiful production team that will do all this for me. So yeah, but we'll get there. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So yes, Luminosity and Splice, the top team, you can agree with that right now. Who now for you guys really is like 3rd, 4th, and 5th? Who's like those teams? Because you've seen, okay, now this will throw me off because Epsilon and Cloud9 are in the top 4 at the minute.
Yeah.
I don't personally put Epsilon and Cloud9 as the top 4 teams in the entire world.
I agree.
Let's go through it then, actually. Jxcko, while you've joined us here as well, we'll ask you. So, actually, we'll go to you first. Jxcko. I'm not going to lie, I did think Jxcko was quite frozen for a bit. But I
thought he was sitting there very still as well.
I thought he was emotionless. I thought, like, he just... I mean...
Look at him.
That's a beautiful pose, yeah. Yeah, we'll move on from Jxcko.
Let's just stare at it.
We'll move... we'll move on from Jxcko for now.
He's talking in the chat.
Oh, is he? Is he?
Yeah.
I mean, I want to call him back, but I feel like when I call him back, it's going to mess up the overlay.
Well, I guess we kind of need him here, don't we?
Well, we kind of do.
True.
No, well, Jxcko's frozen. Look how beautiful he is in that strong pose. Right, let's while we sort this out then. Okay, let's give it up for now. Let's go to you real quick, Paradox. We'll come back to Jxcko when we manage to revive him from his statue performance. Paradox, who's the top 4 teams for you? We lost Paradox.
Okay. Top 4 for me, I'd say Luminosity, Splice, no particular order. OG is still in that top 4.
Yeah.
That 4th spot, I still want to see. I want to see more from United right now.
Okay.
Like, they dropped down. They have a 9th through 12th placing in Anaheim. I feel like this is at least still a top 6 team, right? Like, even if you lose Gunless, you're still at least top 6, top 8 at the very least. So that's when I start getting the conversation. Looking at United, I mean, FaZe have an off weekend. Don't know what's going on with that. That 4th spot is really for me right now, honestly.
Jxcko Skype's been wait! Wait!
Oh.
Jxcko, you with us?
I think.
There we
Yes!
I don't know what happened.
Did he just
That's
win the
one of
mannequin challenge?
one of the many vices living on top of some B-Tech mountain in South Wales.
That was the best statue performance in the world. I don't know if you've gone again, but you can still hear us, yeah, Jxcko? No. Okay. I don't know what's going on with Jxcko's side of the Skype over there. But, oh, are you with us?
Minutes. I don't know what's going on. 1 minute you're sweet, next minute I'm dying. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Are you here with us
Is
now?
anyone getting on their phone?
Yeah, is someone on the phone maybe?
Watching porn or something?
What? My phone's on.
Right, I'll tell you what we will do then. Since Jxcko is kind of a key part of our conversation this evening, we're going to go to an extremely quick break. Promise it'll be quick, while we try and resolve the situations on Jxcko's side. So guys, don't go anywhere. We'll continue the conversations when we return.
Nightmares creep while you and me repeat. This bittersweet heat is suffocating. I'm waiting and always hesitating. Kryptonite desires set my heart afire. Heart on fire. Set my heart afire. Bittersweet heat is suffocating. I'm waiting and always hesitating. Kryptonite desires set my heart afire. Heart on fire. Set my heart afire.
almost see it. When I take a breath, you fill up my lungs. And if my mind worked backwards just for a minute, I'd follow you before the memory's gone. I remember you. You lift my spirit. With you high is all I'm feeling. Remember how we felt alive. I remember you. I remember you. I remember you. When I close my eyes, I can almost see it. When I take a breath, you fill up my lungs. And if my mind worked backwards just for a minute, I'd follow you before the memory's gone. I remember you.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Esports Talk Show. We're very, very sorry for the technical difficulties, but however, as Tony touched upon, he is the best person I've ever seen at doing completely standing still. Mannequin
I'm
Challenge
pretty good
champion.
at the mannequin statue.
Yeah, it's
Champ.
just, I mean, there's another accolade to add to the CV, I guess, but he has joined us, he's back, and he is live and working. So we're going to go back to the conversation that we were discussing. That was talking about who we thought was the top 4 teams now. So basically, Jxcko, we kind of all agreed that it was an agreement that we can put Splice and Luminosity as the top 2. We wanted to ask you though, who do you see as 3rd and 4th? Now, obviously Cloud9 and Epsilon, they were the 3rd and 4th team from Anaheim. But who for you sits as 3rd and 4th as the best team in Call of Duty?
I think definitely you have to put Epsilon up there. Not so much with the way they started the season, but since they brought in Josh, the change to their team has been quite incredible. The results they pulled out, the placings they pulled out, and the way they're starting to click as a team, I think they're definitely a team that should be up there in contention for every event that we see now. As far as the 4th spot goes, I mean, you can say that it's Cloud9, you have to keep up with it, which they did play very well this weekend, hence why they got such a good placing. But I feel like it is really tough to write off Optic and the United after just one bad event.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I
think that 4th spot's like up for grabs for a lot of different teams at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair point, and I want to go across to you, Tony, and see your opinion on it, because I know that when we had Paradox talking about his top 4, and there was the talks of maybe United around that area, you kind of went, what is it for you then?
I don't think they're the same team without him, to be honest.
Okay.
I think, like, just as, remember when Epsilon picked up Josh and I said I think it'd be a good move because he was older, same as the Tommy effect. I actually said that. Right again. But I also think that Gunners has that effect on the United. Just by looking at them, they just looked a different team. Maybe it is just lack of practice and the person weren't the right one in if they get someone else in that can do that role. But I think they're the sort of team that every team needs a leader. You take a leader away from the team, it hurts the team more than if you take away one of the other players. And I feel that he was probably the one with a bit more experience, maybe, or just, you know, I mean, he obviously was doing something right because they didn't look like the same team. I honestly think though, Epsilon, like Jack was saying, mate, they've had, that ain't the only good performance they've had. Do you remember at Insomnia when they rolled Splice? You know what I mean? So that isn't a one thing wonder.
And it's a really weird thing to think as well, isn't it? That the start that they had was so unfortunate. Because remember everything that happened with around the organisation struggling to get in. Such an unfortunate turn of events.
That could be because of the lack of a leader as well. You know what I mean? Those things, missing out, making sure emails and that are sent off, and all other stuff. You know what I mean? That's the lack of someone taking charge.
Does it make you think though, Tony, what this team could have done this year if the start was better? Do you feel like this team still would be further than where it is now, or have they reached a point where you can say, yeah, Epsilon deserves to be here?
I think people are where they are because of accumulation of everything that's happened. So they're here because of the hard times and everything else. You know what I mean? That could have been what made the people make the change. That could have been what made them listen to him when he come along. You know what I mean? And maybe put more hours of practice in or whatever. You know what I mean? So they are here because of the bad times, because of the good times, and that's what everything is. I just think it really does highlight how important a sort of leader is to a team. You know, I mean, you can have all the skill in the world, but I'm not saying they was running around like headless chickens, but if you ain't all pushing in the same direction, if you ain't all got the same objective, you know what I mean, then you can have all the gun skill, it ain't gonna always get you anywhere.
Well, while we're discussing this, I want to see what people in the chat's kind of opinions are. So, guys, I know the few people have put it in there who they think their top 4 are, but let us know. I want to be able to go back to the chat in a couple of minutes, have a look at it, see what you guys think. Somebody said it was Hey Arnold said Splice, Luminosity Gaming, Epsilon, and Optic. So that's he's listed that as his top 4. I think you can kind of agree with that one. I think that one's quite good to agree with there. Benny G reckons that Rise have a lot more to give.
Not until the last tournament of the year.
Yeah, not until the last tournament.
What's the last tournament of the year? I'm going to be sitting here again going, I'm not trying to say I know what I'm talking about. But
well, an interesting thing. Oh, sorry, Paulus, carry on.
No, I'm just saying Rise is just that team that's so up and down, but the thing is they have a really high ceiling. They have a top 4 ceiling. When this team's playing at their best, they can push all the way up to the top of the standings. But when they're playing bad, man. Like it's just weird to see this team just for the past 2 years just go up and down, just this roller coaster. And I feel like Looney, it's a bad feeling for him personally, but I don't know. I really do want to see what they do in Stage 2. And same goes for Epsi. Like, not taking anything away from those guys, Stage 2 is a really big test for them in my eyes.
Yeah, I agree. And you know, we've had the chat get involved, so I want to go and see what they're saying. So I'm Zach Wilmore says that he reckons that Luminosity Gaming are definitely the best team right now. We've had Dan1014. He says Splice, LG, OG, and FaZe. So he's still putting FaZe up there. He still reckons FaZe are one of those top 4 teams in the world. Dirk says Luminosity, Splice, Optic, and it's a toss-up until after Rostermania for the 4th, which is fair enough. I can kind of agree with that one as well. So really kind of similar things. Then we've seen a lot of Luminosity and Splice, which is what we expected. Quite a lot of Epsilon as well, making their way in.
How nice is it for everyone not to be saying Optic at number 1? Nothing against Optic.
Yeah.
But
it's true.
For COD, you know what I mean? Not to have Optic, FaZe, and anyone else out of you want to pick because they're never going to get there. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's a
good
nice
to
change.
see a vary. I mean, and this is kind of what I've always touched upon when it comes to competitive CSGO. I've said loads of times, you get a game that's never changed. They never update, they never bring out a new copy. And you'd think that one team would just be good at it and dominate, but in CSGO there's a new winner like every single event. And that's what's happening with Call of Duty now. You just don't know who's going to take the event. And it could be Optic come out and they have a monster performance and win an event, or Splice do what they've been doing recently, or Luminosity are there, and even Epsilon now, and Cloud9 are playing well, and FaZe are still a team that you could think about. So I think having this wide variety of teams also creates more viewership and more fan base. You know, if you're an Optic fan, you kind of expected as an Optic fan that they would win. But now it's like Optic fans have to really get behind their team because they might not win that event. And without that support, they need that pushing. So I think that's one thing as well that we're seeing.
One thing that Lenny Slays just said in the chat, E6 a quality team. Yes. Once again, I pointed it out on Twitter, E6 over Optic again. It happened. They took him out of the tournament. But looking at that team, Ruiz, of course, leaves, goes over to Oxygen Black, sort of playing, essentially, I think, for fun, just throughout the rest of the year. I think he's still going to play in the LCQ. Speaking of which, Dirk is actually the coach of that team now. Really cool thing. But just back on that topic, that addition of royalty ends up really helping that team. This is a team that can thrive in a lot of fast-paced gunfights, really being the aggressors in a lot of these maps. That addition really helped them there. And if especially you go and look at that last map, I was like, wait, it's a throwback search and destroy E6 versus Optic. E6, just because of the way the playstyles match up between both of those teams. That's another team where arguably I say their ceiling is top 4, but I feel like the lowest you get them is a 9th through 12th.
One thing that I think is really interesting with the way Optic came out of this event is when you see Optic get a poor placement, and for them a poor placement is one that they would have got this weekend. People always bring up the case that Optic had a slow Friday, or they started off slow, or like they drop into the losers early, and that would be ended up what punishes them in the long run. But this weekend was one of Optic's strongest starts to an event in a long time. Like I'm pretty sure they went like 12-0 map count through pools, and they came out looking really hot and really strong. and still fell off and got a bad placing. So I don't think now if Optic are going to get a bad event, I don't think it's through their own faults of underperforming. I think now that the competition in COD over Europe and North America is actually getting to a standard now where it's not just Optic that you have to consider going into every event. It's a really big mix-up, and I think it's great for the esports.
Yeah, and I also think that's a great thing to touch upon, because a lot of the times people, like Optic fans have said that, oh, we're a Saturday team, or we're a Sunday team. Like it doesn't really, we don't really care about the Friday as long as we can get through that. We'll be good on the Saturday. But like you just touched upon, they had a fantastic Friday, and it was the Saturday and the Sunday that they didn't necessarily perform on. So that's kind of gone out the window. As I wouldn't want to use it as an excuse, but whether that was being used as an excuse, it can no longer be used. So I feel like you're right in saying that there's a lot of competition, and with Call of Duty in the past, it's been very much like it's been boring to watch until we've got to like quarters and semis. Now I'm watching some round 2 games that are like explosive, and like those, they really matter and determine the future of the team's progression in that tournament. So it's like, it's now more gripping. Call of Duty is like really drawing you in. Even the pool matches, even the Friday matches, some of those matches were explosive and really changed up a lot of stuff. So it's necessarily not us just waiting for quarters and seeing the usual Optic phase or Optic envy and all that type of stuff. It's now those earlier matches as well. So a lot of stuff is changing in Call of Duty, but I want to talk about how things are changing in Call of Duty for the amateur scene. And Jxcko, I want to talk about Cyberstone Gaming. You had the chance to go over to Anaheim to go and meet and to play and to see all these top Call of Duty players that you've been watching for years and years. What was it like walking into Anaheim, surrounded by these players that you've been watching for years, that you've been learning from, that you've been playing, and just like wishing you could be where they were? What was it like your first moment you walked into that Anaheim arena?
So, everything about the Anaheim event is, it blew away all of my expectations. It was incredible. Immediately you walk and you have like this sort of tunnel entrance, like lights flashing everywhere, all the sponsors, like poster boards up around you. And even that alone, 10 seconds into my Anaheim experience, I was already blown away. The golfing class of these events between the North American events and the European events. And then when you walk just around the corner, you see everything that's going on. It just blows your mind away even more. Mm-hmm. So before I even thought about the players that were around me, I thought about the investment that went into the venue and into the event itself. Because in Europe, we were like packed into this tight little corner, and that's sort of our little space for the weekend. But this place was incredible. You walk in, you've got 3 long sort of tables that have station after station after station after station. You've got a game battles booth where fans can just go and play GBs all weekend. You've got an exclusive phase booth. You've got Crim6's car. You've got like loads of stuff going on. There's so much more stuff going on at the event than what was at a European event. And I think for the most part, because it's behind an event, there is a lot of work goes into it on the production side of things, and immediately I was impressed by that more than anything else. The players around me, just being the person I am. Obviously I've been watching these players for years, don't get me wrong, and I do sort of like, they are idols to me to an extent, but on weekends like this, I see them more as a competitor and not someone that I look up to. So during the weekend, that's not really something I had in mind particularly, but it is still quite surreal to see the best in the world around you doing what they do on a daily basis at an event as big as Anaheim.
Yeah, and I think it's crazy. And one of the questions I kind of want to ask you is, I know it's difficult for amateur teams, especially in Europe, to be given chances and to be able to go out to places like that. But what is it, if you could say to any amateur players that are in here right now about going to NA events? What would it be you'd say to them?
People have the biggest question I've got is how could we afford it, right? And one thing that I have a particular problem with issue is that I work very hard outside of COD and outside of college. I've worked 1 to 3 jobs all year long. My teammates all work, and one of them works 2 jobs as well. I've seen more people than ever this year drop out of work, drop out of college, drop out of education, give up much more than COD to specifically work on COD. And I mean, in some ways I respect it because they're focusing on their dreams, but that closes out more avenues than you'd think, because to go to this event, everyone on my team had to pay a good few £100s to get there. Obviously, we had a lot of help from Cyberstorm, and for that we were extremely grateful, but we could never even consider going to the event if we weren't all in good financial situations to begin with.
Mm-hmm. And so, really, like, I know, because when the tweet went out and it was made public that you was going to Anaheim, there was a lot of hate tweets. A lot of people were saying, why is this team being sent? I deserve to be sent, not these guys. And do you see those tweets as kind of jealousy, or how do you read those type of tweets when you get them?
I knew they were going to come. I thought there'd be far more of those tweets than there were the kinder and nicer tweets and messages I was getting, to be honest. So I was definitely expecting it. When I saw, one tweet that stood out to me was a tweet from Shuck. Shuck is a good player, he's a German player, he plays in Europe. He tweeted out saying, "Lol, why are these going to the event and not Quicker's team?" And the first thing I had to say was, well, Quicker's team, they do deserve full funding. Don't get me wrong, they're an excellent team and they should be going to these events, I feel anyway. But that they're asking for full funding, and orgs didn't want to give them full funding. We weren't asking for anywhere near that, and that's why the org was more than happy to work with us. So I knew that the people were going to tweet this because they didn't understand and won't understand what sort of financial situation myself, the team, and the org were in. I knew there were going to be people who would jump to conclusions, as if I was in their situation, I'd probably do the same. But I just hope that over time they'd be a bit more graceful towards it, and if anything, just wish us luck. And eventually that is what it turned into. So the horrid tweets didn't necessarily get to me, as I knew eventually they would pass.
So overall, though, for you, what was the final placing for the team?
The final placement for the team, I think, was like 40th through 48th.
Okay. And what was a total of, 120 teams, I think it was at
Yeah,
Anaheim?
I think it was something like
that.
that.
So, I mean,
yeah.
we can agree then, Tony and Paradox, it's not a bad performance at all for a team.
Not at all.
I'd expect him to get that at an EU event, so he done well to get it at an A one.
A 46-team event or something, Tony, yeah? Top
I'm only
42?
joking.
But I have to say, for a team to go out there, and one of the things I want to talk about really, really quickly before we move on with the show, is I think I'm right in saying this, but you got a tweet from somebody you played against, an American team, didn't you? Or something.
Yeah.
Something happened. It was on social media, and I heard something say it was along the lines of, "We can't lose to an European team." Or was it something like that?
Yeah, so basically there's a pretty high player. I hadn't heard of this guy before the event. I know he's a pretty good North American player. I think he was
him if he's been to random events around the world.
yeah, he goes by the name Spoofs or Spoofy or something like that.
Yeah.
So this guy's like a pretty good player. I don't know much about him, but I know he's like a top am / low tier pro, I think. And he tweeted out saying, "Who is Cyberstorm? We play them in the third round." He obviously didn't know we were a European team. That was fine. But one of the teams he played later in the tournament on Team Relic, one of the players responded to them something along the lines of, "They're a European team coming over here for the first time. Don't worry, they're not going to get through us," or something along those lines. So we tried not to rise to it. We saw it. People were tagging us in the tweet and stuff. And we're like, right, let's not say anything, because if we lose after we've said some stuff, we're going to look a bit foolish. And if we win, then they only look foolish themselves. So that there was quite a bit of a beef around that, because a lot of our friends back in Europe were tweeting him immediately, defending us, saying all sorts of things I don't think are best to repeat. But later in the tournament, then on the Sunday in losers round 4, which was 4 top 48, we played them. And they were a good team. They were a very difficult team to play against. But in the hard point, we won we went up by a large margin. The hard point, we went up by about 90 points. So with all the beef surrounding it, we got quite hyped on my team, and my teammates were quite vocal towards them, saying a bit of slurs that maybe we shouldn't have. But it helped us get behind each other, and we ended up closing out the series 1-2-1. They were a very good team. They won the S&D just because we were having a rough S&D weekend. I don't think we won an S&D whilst we were out there. And then after the game was over, I don't think we won an S&D whilst we were out there. But after the game was over, then myself and my teammate Vex Kale stood up and said a few French words that shouldn't be repeated. But it was just because it was. It was sort of like they put a bit of slander on our name for no reason. So the guy said to me afterwards, he was like, I wasn't trying to talk bad on your guys. I was just defending us. I was like, but in realistically, you didn't need to reply to it at all. Regardless of what your point was trying to be, you didn't need to, and you should have known that there was going to be, repercussions to that tweet. Yeah, definitely. So when we won the series, we were more than happy with ourselves. They were a tough team to beat. A lot of people in the venue were saying that we probably weren't going to win because they were quite a highly acclaimed team, from what I'm told. So when we did win, we were all extremely happy. Obviously, you win your series, you advance in the tournament, and we've beaten someone that thought quite little of us. So yeah, we were pretty happy about that.
So overall, then, kind of the final thing to kind of touch upon with you guys and your team is obviously the big question we see a lot, and we're going to be talking about Rostermania and that today. Is this a team for you then? Is there a point where anybody in the team's gone, do you know what, I've proven I can do well, and now I want to move on? Or is the team all along the same length? They're all right, we're sticking together, let's just try to work on our own thing? Or is there any individuals that are like, I want to move on now?
There was a small chance that the roster was going to be different coming into EGL, and that's just because of the way the system is currently going. So obviously you're all fully aware of the pro point system, and one of the players on our team was given an opportunity which gave him an extremely slim chance at making regionals, and if you get to regionals you have a chance of making COD champs. It's what we all play for. So he was thinking about taking that offer. He was pretty much set on going just because it created a chance for him to attempt to go to COD champs, which unfortunately our team is almost next to impossible to make because of the point difference. But once we found a solution to this and an idea behind what we can do moving forward with this gate, well, not the gate, with this obstacle in front of us, we decided that it's best if we stuck together. We feel like when we practice online, we're never on the same page and everything's just sort of down. We don't play to our full potential. But then when we turned up to the event, we all got exactly on the same wavelength. We were all where we needed to be, and we worked extremely well as a team. And it's a team. We worked well as a team, which is in a way that you don't see in a lot of teams. A lot of teams, you see one or two people usually carrying their teammates or being the explosive player that you only get one in per team. But at Anaheim, we all had our different moments. We would all go off. Not so much, I wouldn't say steal the show, but where we definitely brought out the best in ourselves to help each other. And the teamwork and the way we came together for the event I was very impressed with it. And I'd like to think that the foreseeable future, the team will remain the same, given that there's no issues and complications with the pro points.
Well, the overall opinion I'm getting, and I'm pretty sure everybody else is, that the event was fantastic, a great experience, and I'm sure he couldn't wait to do it all over again. But guys, before we move on from the talk of Anaheim, we want to refresh your minds with one clip that we saw that weekend. And if you're an EU fan, very much like me and Tony, and I'm pretty sure sometimes Paradox, I mean...
No, you're not.
I was
well,
screaming.
Tony,
Jack, wind your neck in. You've
No.
You've got American boxer shorts, American flag boxer shorts. Right? All you do, as soon as you get an A guest, it's...
I will admit one thing. I will admit one thing. When this happened, I stood up and screamed. Do we show him what it was?
I did too. Yeah.
And then started crying.
I stood up in the venue when this happened. I know exactly what you're talking
Ladies
about.
and gentlemen, this is Splice clutching up in the hard point on Scourge against Luminosity. Enjoy.
They know every push has to come from the back. First engagement now from Classic. Tagged one up, but it's the rest of Splice storming out into two-piece from Octane. Oh my God, when you need him most, the man is there.
A -10 to an explosion. 5 in a row. 10 points away is Octane going dad mode.
Daddy's home.
Fully streaked out. 3 more ticks and this one is done. Luminosity hasn't closed it out yet. That might be the final kill, but they're still fighting back and forth. My God.
1 second is all LG needs. They'll at least see, I believe, one more hard point. It wasn't enough quite yet. 1v1, they'll try to soar in. They've gotten there in time. Zero's got to get the hard point. They're still alive.
Zero holding on, 241 to 249. Saints able to cut him down. Still contesting inside. Saints now pops reactive armor, getting pushed out the edge. He's gonna drop. It's still Splice. They're fighting. Jack.
Oh
They're
my
fighting.
God!
Holding on.
249, 248. It's still contested. Splice! Win the game!
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. That was the clip that we wanted to show you, and that was Splice clutching up, and it was absolutely the definition of the word clutching up. It was an insane moment. Twitter exploded after it happened as well. Tony, I think it's most fitting that we ask you about the situation. What happened when you were watching this?
Right, picture the scene. I'm lying in bed,
Right,
laptop on
let
my lap.
me be the, yep. Right,
so laptop's on my lap.
Yep.
The wife's next to me,
Right.
asleep.
Okay.
She's got to be up early in the morning.
Right, oh God.
Anyone going to EGL this weekend will be able to meet my wife. Now, she's a lovely woman, but she's also got a little bit of a temper on her. She's half Italian from Newcastle, right? So it says it all.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm lying there, right? Patriotic me,
Yep.
and I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, oh, the boys
I
are
don't know
getting
why I'm
bummed.
typing, you're watching. Right, okay.
Yeah, the boys are getting done here. The boys are, they're coming back, they're coming back. Oh, they're coming back. So now I'm getting into it. Then when I thought that Luminosity were going to get it, I was like, oh, that'd have been, they're coming back even more. And I'm literally sitting there, like, I'm thinking, should I just wake them up? Should I just wake them up? And I'm, oh, no, it's not worth it, it's not worth it. And then by then we've won, and I'm like, the laptop's gone on the bed, and I'm on the floor, and I'm literally laying there going, trying not to scream and shout. Mate, it was good.
It was
good.
it was insane. It was an absolutely awesome thing to see,
Okay.
and congratulations to Splice for being able to bring it back like they did. And it really, for me, kicked off the finals. I think it did for everybody. It was a great start to the finals. Everybody tweeting the same thing. So, Jxcko, like you just said to us while we was actually watching that clip, you was in the event when this happened. What was it like in the event when this went off?
So it was quite crazy because it was quite funny at the same time because when Luminosity were in the lead that they had, we had all like the fans, all the American fans like screaming their name, like going off on one, and also saying like EU sucks and all this. And then Splice started taking the lead, and they start screaming for Splice. It was hilarious. and then when Splice take the map, so I stand up, being like the guy from the EU, I suppose, like we're all trying to watch it, and people stand up in front of me. I stand up, I'm like, what is going on? This is crazy. I'm screaming like a little girl. And then so Splice win the map, and everyone in the venue, everyone starts screaming, starts going off their rocker. It's absolutely crazy. I've never seen anything quite like it before.
Yeah, it's crazy seeing. I imagine would have happened from that one, but that kind of concludes the Anaheim talk for us. So I just wanted to quickly say thank you very much to CWR, obviously, for the clip, and also thank you very much. Not thank you very much, but well done to Luminosity Gaming for being the champions of that one. Splice falling short in it, but it kind of become a little bit of a battle between those two. One apiece for now, but we'll have to see where the trio one does end up happening. But we want to talk a little bit now, going into what we've heard about in the Rostermania. Now, Paradox, what have we heard? Because as far as I'm aware, it's NA that's having the problems at the minute.
Yeah, so there's some tweets and stuff that have been going around. I know someone mentioned it in the chats, like Nameless threw out a tweet. There might be some shakeup within the top 4 teams that we were talking about. I know a lot of people were saying, should Optic make a roster change? A lot of people actually looking at Envy, too. They come out and got their worst placing ever as an organization, top 24? I want to say, so maybe something changes there. Of course, the rumor of FaZe has been around since Gunless left United as well.
Okay.
And, hey, people were talking about LG as well. So, hey, a lot of teams and people in the blender right now.
Right, well, we're going to play a little quick game then, and it's going to be a little prediction from us guys all here. I'm going to give you a team name, and you're going to tell me the one player you think should be dropped from that roster. Okay, if there was going to be a roster change to be happening, what would be the reason? So, we're going to start off with Envious. So, Paradox, Team Envy, if you were the captain and the manager of that team and you were told that one person's got to go, who's going for you?
If I have to get rid of one person on that team, do I know who I'm getting in return?
No, you just have to get rid of one person.
Oh,
you can have an option of saying leave the team as it is. There is that option. We'll go with that.
Right now, I don't know what it is within me. If I have to make a change, maybe Slasher, maybe, and that's not even like based on his gameplay. That's some things I've heard like outside game.
Okay, all right then. So Jxcko, you have to pick one person. You can choose to keep the team as the same, or you have to choose one individual that you think Envious may improve better without.
I don't know, because this is right. So the person I'd get rid of is like really tough. I'd probably get rid of JCap. But that's really difficult to say, because coming to the end of the year, COD champs, that's sort of his, that's his thing, especially when it comes to these jetpack games. I just feel like maybe he's run his course in that team for a bit. I feel like maybe they need something to spruce it up, maybe bring in someone a bit younger who's going to add a bit of fire to the team.
Okay, Tony, Envious.
I don't know. Right, my problem with this game is I don't like making changes. I think a lot of teams do better working together. It all depends who you're going to bring in. It really does. For me, I'd leave them and let them. Look how close we are to like season 2 and that. You're going to risk getting someone in, and you could make it worse than what it already is.
Especially with the pool that Envy has too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like sometimes people just have bad events, you know what I mean, or bad days and that. I honestly think changes can do more damage than good, you know what I mean?
Okay, if I was to say E United, would it be a combined agreement of Swally, or would you think of dropping somebody else?
I would. That's the only person I would touch on that team.
Same with you, Jxcko?
So I didn't see E United play once this weekend, but when I spoke to Wuskins from Fnatic, who played against United, he said he was quite disappointed with how Swally played. He thought he was going to be a lot better and fit into the team a lot better. So I suppose going off that, everyone seems to think that Swally let the team down this weekend. I wouldn't know personally, but going off on what everyone else has said, it seems like it's the only fitting change.
Okay.
See, thinking about this though, it could just be that the kid needs a little bit of time with him.
Yeah.
Like I said, making changes ain't always the answer. He could be the perfect person to play that. He just needs to gel with the team. Look what I said.
They were
about
shortchanged
Fnatic,
on that for sure.
Remember, I gave Fnatic 3 events, and the 3rd event they smashed it.
Very, very true.
Right. You can't just judge a kid on that event.
You don't
he's not had long to gel with them anyway. I don't think either. I think he was in the team like not even 2 weeks before the event.
Yeah,
it's not going to be easy for any person to fit
And the other thing is as well, Swally is a player that's not new to the competitive scene, but he's never been on a stage like that before. He's never played in front of fans like that, been associated with United, which as a team does get publicity. There are fans that come up and say hello and want to be involved and have pictures. He won't have had that before. So you can imagine the pressure that he may have been feeling as a player, knowing as well, I'm sorry, but if you're the person that's replacing Gunless's shoes, you have some serious work to put in to replace the shoes of Gunless, a player that really, throughout this entire game, has really proved he is worth, okay, I don't want to say worth $100,000, but he is worth the player that he is. But
I want to do one more. Now, I know that you have to be very, very careful on what you say here because Optic Gaming pitchforks are waiting outside for whatever you have to say. But who is the individual that you would have to drop from Optic Gaming, or is Tony going to stick with the chemistry with this one and say that they should stick together? It's just a bad event. So, Paradox.
You've done it. You've done this whole game just to ask this question, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Paradox.
It's all been a setup.
Optic Gaming. Would you drop anybody, or do you keep the same team?
Absolutely not.
Okay, you
No
keep
way.
the same team.
If they make a change, they make a change. I say leave that team how it is, unless someone wants out. That is the only way I see something happening with this team. Someone has to want to leave.
Jxcko, same with you, or do you think you would?
I feel like
physically just
dropping
say,
someone.
drop
Dropping
someone?
anyone from that team, I just think at this point would be stupid. The amount of success they've seen together, no team ever in any sport, any competition can be perfect for that long. Every team's allowed to have a mishap here or a mishap there. I feel just let them stick together. They'll come back, have one more fire of an event, take something over, get a bit more like steamroll a little bit more, and I think going into champs they'll be sweet. I think they might have needed this more than ever. This little bit of a knockback.
I think as well, and it's great that you say that, because one thing I think is when you feel like you are the best team and you are untouchable, you will go into events with the mindset that you beat everybody and it's very, very easy, and you won't necessarily play with that same drive. I think now that Optic know that they are more than capable of losing to any of the top 8 teams with North America and Europe, now they're going to have to go 110% into every single game that they play. You're going to see more of a performance from them. It's not going to be as laid back. I'm not saying that Optic Gaming are losing because they're laid back. I'm sure they go into every match 110%. But you have to sometimes have that setback to realise. It's very much like with football, and you talk to the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona who dominate for years and years and years, but when they have those mishaps, it's how do they change and readapt to make it where they were once again before. So I think I can agree with Jxcko on that one. And for you, Tony, is it the same thing? You're just going to keep Optic the same? It's all about that chemistry.
Right. But it isn't even about that. Look at it. Right, we're halfway through easy of this game, haven't we? We've got season 2s and champs left. Right, so we're almost at the end of it. Think of going into the next game. Right, those 4 would be unreal. Boots on the ground, you know what I mean? You bring them together. Why on earth would you change that?
Yeah,
like,
right.
You'd have to be mental. Like, you got to look at the long. With me, I'm always about long term. You know what I mean? Not. I think the biggest problem with Call of Duty, like especially for the AM level, which is what I'm here to speak about a lot of the time, is the short-sightedness of everyone. People literally plan to the next event. Like, they don't plan any further than that, unless they think right, we might nick someone after this. And it's why I get frustrated when people leave our teams with short notice, because I always plan for the future. And I don't. There's times when I think, you know what, this event might not be our event, but it's all right because the next 2 events after that, everything's going to be good. Because at the time people have got to gel, and I try to, because of working, I understand teams can't be built in a day, and people have bad things, and if you work through them, you will get better. And I think if Optic will, and they will get over what happened the weekend, you know what I mean, and they will come back stronger, they're going to smash it again, you know what I mean. And then moving into the next game, you can't think of 4 people that are going to probably.
The only thing that I have to point out, and I agree with like a lot of what you're saying, Tony, and I actually agree with a lot of what everybody's saying, but I just want to be that kind of person who throws a spanner in the works and just see what your opinion is.
Bellend.
Can you Call of Duty Championships, we all agree, is the tournament of Call of Duty. It's the pinnacle tournament, it's the one everyone wants to win. Can you go 3 years straight without winning Call of Duty Championships as a team?
Hex ain't starving of a night, is he?
No. But is it? But for me, I think it's not the money for Optic. It's that's the reputation.
As a competitor, yeah.
You have not had a ring in Optic Gaming since Big Timer won his ring.
I don't think it's something you have to look over the course of like 3 years. If you think about it, when you come into Call of Duty Champs, it's literally 3 days of Call of Duty action. Any one individual, any 2 individuals, even a full team, gonna have 1 to 2 to 3 bad days of playing COD. So I don't think it's something you look at. They've been practicing at this for years and years, because the COD's different every year. The teams you're going to play at the event are going to be different mostly. I think it's so much more on the day than people realize. I think maybe, I don't know whether it's nerves or whether because they're playing at the end of the game now, right? I think the best thing about Optic Gaming is the fact that usually they learn the game faster than most. That's why they're so easy. Like, they find everything so easy at the start of the year. And then by the time COD Champs has come around, everyone's learned how they play, everyone's learned how they should play, and everyone's learned how to counter what. And I think on the day it literally just comes to who's thinking better and who's shooting straighter. And I think that literally they just fall short because of the tiniest of things when it comes to events like Champs.
Yeah, so that is the question that's on everyone's lips is, when will Optic Gaming be able to secure that? And more importantly, when will Scump, one of the players who for many, many, many years of Call of Duty has been referred to as the best player, and he is yet to get his hands on that ring, and maybe it could be this year, but with how much competition we're seeing so far, especially now from Europe as well, COD Champs for me is really open to anybody, and I think it's very much true what you said, Jack. It is who plays better on that day of Call of Duty Championships will determine who ends up taking home the ring and the trophy. But there's another event that we want to talk about before we briefly end the show, and it's another one that you'll be attending, and it's closer to home this time, so maybe not as much travelling, Jxcko, which you'll prefer on that one. But it is going to be EGL.
Don't have to spend 3 days travelling.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be EGL Sheffield. It's a CWL event. There's points and money up for grabs. Let's just really quickly bring up the pools for that one so you guys can see who is in it and what it looks like. So, Pool A is going to be Red Reserve, ERA Eternity, and Zealous Esports. Pool B is Epsilon, Team Vitality, MRN Black. Pool C is Millennium, Supremacy, District Red, and the open bracket team joining them, of course. And then Pool D is Fnatic, Elevate, and Opulent Esports. So, the first question is Pool of Death. For you. Is there one? I mean, is it Fnatic, Elevate, Opulent?
D.
Yeah?
Yeah. I feel that's the closest you get.
Really?
Just because of Fnatic and Elevate.
Yeah. Having those two in the same group would instigate that in your head that's going to be the biggest group, yeah?
Yeah, and whatever one of our teams gets into as well, to be fair, that because they're going to mess people up.
That's okay. Confidence, I like it. The confidence. How's the team looking anyway? That's a good question because obviously Jordy D departed, which was something we saw.
Right, so we had someone snake off because he's got no backbone.
Oh.
And then we had to release Jordy because basically his connection's bad, so we couldn't get a full to play to practice because we couldn't practice.
Yeah.
It's not too bad when we had Hayes because he could sort of we'd played as a team, so we had good days and bad days of practicing. But because we've been together for so long, and that was the idea to keep the team together, we could get past that. You know what I mean? But Hayes decided to go and join a different team. So then we couldn't keep Jordy, and I'm gutted because I love Jordy to bits. But we had to make a change. So we picked up Benny and Josh. Now, if you remember back to the last Insomnia, Benny had an outstanding one. His team was the only other amateur team that could finish as well as we did. So bringing in Benny is a good option. Plus, he's been in Bulldog before. We've known Benny for ages. Benny's been on the show. Benny's a good lad. His S&D's pretty unreal. Mm-hmm. So I'm hoping that helps us as well because we haven't really had a chance to practice anything. We're like a 1 week pickup team. Mm-hmm. Josh as well, if everyone remembered, he had an outstanding Insomnia as well. He was possibly one of the better players on the Descent team. And I know when we played against us, the lads come away and they said if he weren't playing for him, it would have been a lot easier. So we picked him up as well. So they've been playing people. When it goes well, it goes really well. They've had people like rage quit against them and all that. But again, it's online. And other days we've played a couple of foreign teams and it ain't gone as well. Mm-hmm. I spoke to Will, like Pato, and said, what do you think? And his impression was, well, it's a pick-up team, so it's going to be 50-50 regardless. But he thinks if everyone talks, then they'll do really well.
Mm-hmm. I think one of the good questions then, let's ask one of your competitors. I mean, Jxcko's here, and he's going to be one of the players that might end up playing against this Bulldog roster. So I know that Tony's here, but he's not too close enough to punch you. Jxcko, what is your...
I'm not punching him. I love Jxcko. There's never no beef between me and Jxcko.
I love Tony. I love anyone that's...
Oh, good then. It's all
bigger than a football than me.
But what's your opinion then on this Bulldog team? Are you a team at the minute that would see them as a threat if you were to get them in a bracket, or are you confident that the way your team's set up with obviously having more playing time, that if you were to come up against Bulldog, it would be a team you could beat?
Bulldog, within the amateur scene, as far as Call of Duty teams go, they've always got a team that you have to keep your eyes out for. They have a really good knack for keeping in good teams and getting strong teams to come to these events. I consider every team that's going to this event a threat. You have to, because every team going to the event, for the most part, is able to knock you out. It is a bit unfortunate with the fact that Hayes left and Jordy had to depart the team because now they have to go to the pickup team. But their pickups are two very strong players. Do you know what I mean? They're players with experience, and they're players that fit well into the team. With Pat already being on there, like that'll work really well for Benny. And Josh is the sort of player who gets left to do his own thing. I think if Benny and Josh are comfortable within the team, I think they'll have no problems in having a pretty good event.
So let's take a look back at the pools, though, and I'm kind of trying to work out who the best team coming into this is. Now, for me, it's Epsilon, just because you've got to think that. Yeah.
You know, they've had a fantastic performance in America, and now this is more of a closer to home event. However, Fnatic are standing out for me. I think Fnatic have had a really good honeymoon period. Then it's gone a little bit down, and now they need to come back up again before Gfinity happens, get that spot. Obviously, they got the spot back, but it's like, it's just been a bit of a honeymoon period now. I know the best person to talk to would be Tony about that, so we'll go over there and see what he has his opinion on that. There's another team I'm seeing in Pool C that, for me, just hangs my head in shame when I look at them. Millennium are... for me, the performances that they're having at the minute, there is a lot more going on behind the scenes with that team than I think we really know. Whether it's enjoying playing with each other, but you've got to look at those 4 players as individuals and how good they are at Call of Duty. You'd think when you put them 4 together it would work. It's not. So that's what makes me think there's something else going on a little bit more behind the scenes with that team. I'm pretty confident we'll see a roster change. We might not, but I think we might see a roster change with the Millennium team before it goes on into the future. So for you, is it Epsilon that stand out the best team? Are we all agreeing, yeah? Epsilon best team here this weekend?
For sure.
Who's the second best team? Fnatic, Elevate, Supremacy, Red Reserve?
I don't like this because I love Greedy as well, isn't it?
I think it's Red Reserve.
Red Reserve?
Yeah.
Okay. Third would be what? Fnatic, Elevate?
Yeah, I think it's a toss between them.
Conflict between those two.
Okay, so here's a good question then, Jxcko. What makes you put Red ahead of Fnatic and Elevate?
I don't know what it is. I think Red... with their recent roster changes, have just been a bit more consistent than the other 2 teams. I love some of the guys on Elevate, and I love some of the guys on Fnatic. So it hurts to almost say things like this, but you don't see Red, change in placements as badly as Elevate and Fnatic have.
Okay.
There was some event where Elevate and Fnatic were right up. I think it was quite early in the year. Elevate were they came 4th or 6th at an event. I can't remember exactly, but then to see them getting some of the placings they're getting now, it's just. I don't feel it's not playing to their best. I just feel like when it comes to it, 1 or 2 things aren't clicking. I feel like if they can get those things to work, they can be one of the top teams. But when they're not, I feel like Red are just a bit more consistent, and I think that's why EGL. I think that's why they might come into second place.
Jumping off of that real quick, Red, their group stage in Anaheim was really good. They had a Game 5 against Envy, Game 5 against Epsilon, Game 5 against LG. So. I mean, hey, you clutch up here a couple of rounds here and there. You don't drop a respawn or a search in 1 or 2 areas, and then they come out top 2 in that pool against 2 teams that made top 3.
Well, really,
that's one thing as well. Sorry, Jack. That's one thing. I'm pretty sure Anaheim. I'm pretty sure in groups Red did actually reverse sweep Epsilon. So if I'm pretty sure that happened. So if that's the case, Epsilon, Epsilon coming into the event as everyone thinks they're going to be the best team there. Yeah. Who else can you put alongside them to compete for the title of the event with the team that beat them at the previous event?
Well, one of the things as well that I was kind of touching upon was obviously Opulent Esports is an organisation we first saw at I-60 where they sent an amateur team to go and perform for them. Did not get the best performance whatsoever, but now they've picked up more top echelon of players, you could say. They've got Carbine's The Real, Verdict and Zayrock. So that's the Opulent Esports roster which has been announced. They have an extremely tough group in Fnatic and Elevate. Tony, is it for you, Fnatic and Elevate, they're just going to walk through that group, doesn't matter who comes through in 4th, they're going to get 1st and 2nd, or does that team, Opulent Esports, sound like they could maybe fluff up a few feathers?
Carbines is a good player, in my opinion. Anyone that knows me knows that I like Carbines. I've always think he's got a really good shot. Will knows that as well. I've said loads of times how much I rate Carbines. I think he's one of the best AR players. There's the real one that. There are a lot of people that I don't think they're good as the other 2 teams. There's a reason why the others are professionals and they're not, and that's no dig at them or nothing like that. But it's just facts, you know what I mean? There's a reason why it's like that. They'll do all right. I'm not saying they'll do bad, but you know my feelings about Fnatic and Elevate. Like, I've always sung their praises. I think Fnatic are actually due a good round, you know what I mean? They're due a good tournament now. I think the last couple of events, people ain't always turned up for them. But do I think that they'll beat them? Not really. And that's nothing against them or a dig against them. They're good players, you know what I mean? But it's like we always have. Whenever we have a groups period, you always have the top 2 teams who are like, yeah, they're the ones that are going to go through. And regardless who the third and fourth team is, it's generally the reason why they're 3rd and 4th, you know what I mean? And not the first 2, and you generally don't see them doing as well. And that's just how it is. And that's for any of the groups, like.
Right then. Well, I mean, we're pretty confident. We've kind of given our predictions who we think will be towards the end. I mean, pretty much agreeing Epsilon should take this one, yeah?
They should.
Epsilon or Red.
Epsilon or Red. Tony, Epsilon, Red, Fnatic or Epsilon, Fnatic?
Nah, I reckon Fnatic could do a good event, that's all, mate.
Or you think Fnatic might take the event?
Well, I just think they're doing a good event, mate. They've had, if you've watched the way they've gone, Tommy's had a couple of bad days and stuff like that. It's been uncharacteristic play that's lost them. Like some of them, Wuskins and Scrap has been unbelievable. Sunny B's been stepping up at times. I just think if none of them have a bad event, they're a really, really strong team, especially now Wuskins has got well in the flow of it. To me, he's probably been a better player, you know what I mean? Like, I honestly think they can do damage if they all have a good event. And like I said, we'll come back and see it. I'm not always right with my predictions, or this could be another Tony Knows.
Tony knows. Hashtag Tony knows. Paradox for you, is it Epsilon to take this then, and then second place Fnatic Elevate and Reserve toss up?
Yeah, I feel like right now I'm going FC versus Red. Fnatic might sneak up in there. Like, I do think they have that potential to do it. Even Elevate, they're sort of been lurking in the shadows. They're due to have some sort of breakout performance at any time, right? But right now, I feel like Epsilon, hands down, that's my prediction to take it.
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. And first thing I want to kind of say before we do end up, this is Cyberstorm Gaming, and Jxcko, good luck at EGL, and maybe you'll be one of those two teams that we'll be talking about of being up there. Maybe what we've all got it wrong, Tony, and what it actually is it's Epsilon versus Cyberstorm Gaming in the finals.
I hope it is. Like I said, Jxcko's my boy, mate. I love Jxcko to bits. And
Maybe with that NA experience, it might come pulled through in the local event. But anyway, guys, that has been everything here from the Esports Hub Talk Show. We apologise for the technical difficulties earlier on in the show, but we're finally able to get it sorted. So thank you very, very much for being involved in the show. Thank you very much for a lot of stuff in the chat today as well. A lot of people getting involved, giving their own predictions and that. And obviously, once again, wish you the best of luck going into EGL for you, Jack, and Cyberstorm Gaming. And thank you for coming on to the show. But guys, like I said,
it was a pleasure.
That is everything for us here. So Paradox, thank you very much.
Always a pleasure, you know, for
Tony,
sure.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. Love you, Pato.
Is he in the chat?
Yeah.
I love you, Pato. Yeah, we all love you here from the Esports Hub. And Jxcko, obviously, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
But before we go, I want to play one clip one last time for you guys. And I'm going to show you the Splice clip. If you did miss it, we're going to end on that and then the stream will be finished. But from everybody here at the Esports Hub Talk Show, goodbye.
They know every push has to come from the back. First engagement now from Classic. Tagged one up, but it's the rest of Splice storming out into two-piece from Arcade. Oh my God, when you need him most, the man is there.
A negative 10 to an explosion. 5 in a row. 10 points away is Octane going dad mode.
Daddy's home.
Fully streaked out. 3 more ticks and this one is done. Luminosity hasn't closed it out yet. That might be the final kill, but they're still fighting back and forth. My God.
1 second is all LG needs. They'll at least see, I believe, one more hard point. It wasn't enough quite yet. 1v1, they'll try to soar in. They've gotten there in time. Zero's got to get the hard point. They're still alive.
Zero holding on, 241 to 249. Saints able to cut him down. Still contesting inside. Saints now pops reactive armor, getting pushed out the edge. He's going to drop. It's still Splice. They're fighting.
Oh my God!